Battle of the Action sequels, Die Hard 2 or Lethal Weapon 2. For me, this choice is not hard because you know me on my position on Die Hard 2. I don't think it's very great. But I know you like Die Hard 2. So for me, it's hands down Lethal Weapon 2 because I think Lethal Weapon 2 is one of the greatest action sequels. It's one of those movies that is better than the original, which is rare. But like I said, that's me. I'm curious how you feel because you like Die Hard 2, which I always felt they should have just called Die Harder. I feel like if they could have turned back time, they would have called it Die Harder because Die Harder fits more with the theme now because every sequel changed the names. They didn't have 2 or 3 or 4. They went from Die Hard, then Die Hard 2, then Die Hard with a Vengeance, Live Free or Die Hard, the Good Day to Die Hard. It would have made more sense if it was Die Harder, but I digress.
Okay. So this is a good one.
Yeah.
Lethal Weapon 2, fantastic movie. Mel Gibson, Ernie Hudson. Ernie Hudson.
Not Ernie Hudson, but they all look the same to you, don't they? It's all coming out here, folks.
Listen, Glover.
Making Ernie Hudson cry right now.
Christian Glover, but I love Lethal Weapon 2. I think it's fantastic. I actually like the third one too. I enjoy it. But Die Hard 2 is one I used to rent all the time as a kid. And I know you don't like Die Hard 2, but the whole fact that this revolves around Christmas as well, this revolves around an airport. Like, see, these airport hijack movies, I always loved when I was a kid. And it seemed like anything when it came to airport hijacking was cool to me. So the fact that they had Bruce Willis in this, I love Die Hard 1. Die Hard 2 is fantastic. I would go Die Hard 2.
I had a feeling you would. I think Die Hard 2, it's not like it's inherently a bad movie. It's just such a massive step down from the first one. I think it's just a massive.
I don't think so. And I understand what you're saying, but
I don't think. I really hate the shooed in Carl Winslow scene where he just calls him on the phone. Oh, Merry Christmas, McClane. Yeah. And it's just like, oh, they kind of almost established like he's going to show up again. Like, oh no, we just had to throw him in there. Like their
relationship. When did you first see the Die Hard 2?
A long time ago. I don't know. It's been a long time.
When you were a kid?
Probably.
Okay. And you still didn't appreciate it then?
I think I saw them all at a similar time as Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard with a Vengeance came out in 95, if I'm correct. It came out like right at maybe it was 94. It came out right after Pulp Fiction. So maybe
I saw it in theater. Yeah, 95.
It was 95 or maybe late 94, but
yeah.
And then I saw Die Hard with a Vengeance first because that was like it was like one that was out while I was like around. Die Hard 1 and 2, I was like a fucking toddler or a baby or whatever. But Die Hard 3 came out and we rented it. Like it was a new release. And then after that, I can't remember if I watched the first one or I think I watched the first one, then I watched the second one, but they were all within the same vicinity. Loved Die Hard 3. I loved Die Hard 3 even. And that was the first
fantastic. One I saw. Die Hard the Vengeance is great.
And Die Hard 1 was awesome. And then Die Hard 2, it was just, Die Hard 3 is its own thing and it's different enough. Whereas Die Hard 2 is sequelitis. And it's just like, we're going to try and do the same thing, change the locations. It's just not as good Die Hard, if that makes sense for me. And it should be noted that John McTiernan came back to do Die Hard 3. And maybe that's part of the reason why I feel like they feel like, even though Die Hard 3 was a different script, it had nothing to do with Die Hard. It was one of those things they took and said, hey, let's throw John McClane in this, right? It was based on something else. But it worked because John McClane felt like John McClane. I don't really think he's as fun-spirited in part 2. I don't know what it is about it. I just think it's silly for all the wrong reasons. Like him fucking like flying up in the air and all that shit. It's like a comic book. I like I like the way he is in the 1 and 3. I like his comedy. I like his chops. John McTiernan did 1 and 3. Didn't come back to do 4 because he got arrested for like wiretapping and fucking like embezzlement, some fucking shit. But I think it's pretty telling that, in my opinion, John McTiernan, who also directed Predator, he directed the only 2 Die Hard movies. In my opinion, that's the only 2 good ones. 2 was directed by Rennie Harlan, and this is his follow-up movie after doing Nightmare on Elm Street 4.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I like Rennie Harlan actually as a guy, as a person. I think he's very interesting.
I
I think
like
it's
Nightmare 4.
yeah. Is Rennie Harlan? He's like from Denmark or Sweden. I can't quite
Yeah,
remember.
yeah.
Maybe
Sweden,
something like that. But anyway, his story is very interesting. He had done like an indie. It wasn't anything. He was a nobody, but he had he had done like an indie that didn't go anywhere. Nobody saw it, so he had a little bit of experience directing. But he was a nobody. He came out to Hollywood and he literally went to New Line Cinema's doorstep because he found out they needed someone to fucking direct Nightmare Before, because Nightmare 4, they were pumping out Freddy every year. It's like it was like Saw at the time. It's like, we got to get a new Freddy. One comes out, we got to start production on the next one to get it out by fucking Halloween or summer. It was like a fucking factory. And he lucked out, man. He literally went knocking on their door as a nobody, saying, "Hey, I want to direct. I'm a huge Freddy fan. I think I could do great to this stuff." And he lucked out because they were in a position where they fucking lost their director, like, who was attached to make 4. And they're like, we have to get going, because it was one of those things where if we don't get on schedule and get someone to fill the slot, we're gonna miss the year, because they can't just release Freddy anytime. They were
yeah.
gonna have to have a gap year. And so he kept pestering him, and they finally just said, we got to fucking start this. He seems super fucking enthusiastic, and he seems to really love Freddy. He's a fucking nobody, whatever. And they gave him the keys to the kingdom. And I listened to him on a podcast telling this story, and he's like, it changed my life. And he's like, and I was just taking a fucking chance, man. I was a fucking nobody. I literally went to their fucking office, unprovoked, unscheduled, and just said, hey, I'm a guy. I can direct. I love Freddy. Let me do it. And it was all timing. And he says that launched my career. And then off the heels of Freddy, which was a big hit, Freddy was hot at the time. Freddy 4 was peak Freddy, peak merchandising, where he was pop culture. It was the peak. And he says, yeah, right off the heels of that, man, I got Die Hard 2. And Die Hard 2 was the biggest film of my career. And he did other movies and stuff like that. And he still does movies. But I think now he's doing like what's that home invasion movies? The other Strangers. He's doing like the Strangers movies that are coming out. He still works, but yeah, it's just crazy, man. I really like his story.
The thing about Die Harder, though, fantastic cast. I mean, you have William Sadler, you have Dennis Franz, you have John Amos, you have Franco Nero. I mean, the legend Franco Nero in there. And I don't know, man. I love this movie. How it takes place at an airport. It takes place up in the air.
I got nothing against the setting. I got nothing against the setting of the movie.
Like, these movies, like Passenger 57, like, these were huge in the 90s, were the airport hijacking movies, which they never do nowadays. I loved these movies when I was a kid. And they freaked me the fuck out. So, and of course, Bruce Willis is top notch. Between him and Mel Gibson, I can't really choose because they're both great in their own way in the 90s. So,
Rennie,
but I would go Die Harder just because that's one I rented more when I was a kid.
Rennie Harlan actually went on to say what it was like working with, because Bruce has a reputation of being not the easiest guy to work with.
Mm-hmm.
And he's been asked about what it was like working with Bruce, and he was candid, he was honest. He's like, well, Bruce was coming off of Die Hard, and the thing is when Die Hard got made, he was doing Moonlighting, which he was great in because it was a comedic show. He was very funny. Have you ever seen Moonlighting?
No, I don't think so.
It's streaming on Hulu. I never got to watch it either before it started streaming on Hulu. Funnier than shit. Like, it's a great show. I mean, Bruce Willis plays a private detective, and Sybil Shepherd is like an aging model, and they have sort of a friendship that's like where they're always at each other's throats, but they ultimately go into business together, like a private dick firm, and it's great. Their chemistry's awesome. And if you like funny Bruce Willis, if you like Bruce Willis in Die Hard, he's just like that, except even a little sillier. But he's got a gun. He's like, he's so quick, so witty, and it's really good. I really recommend it. So he was still on Moonlighting when he got Die Hard. And Die Hard blew him up as a fucking film star. And I think he still did moonlighting for like one more year, like he was contractually whatever. So there was some overlap. But then he got out of moonlighting and he's like, I'm full fucking movie star now. It blew him up, and he went into Die Hard 2. And the studio loved they obviously loved him in Moonlighting. That's why they cast him in Die Hard. Like, bring that wit. You're so fucking funny on Moonlighting. Bring that to this McClane character. And so they wanted more of that. That's why they love Die Hard too. And so when Die Hard 2 came out, he's like, I want to be a serious actor. This is what Rennie Harlan's saying. He's like, I think he wanted to shake the silly stuff early on. He's like, I want to be taken seriously as an actor. And he was really hard to work with on doing the takes the way they were written because they wanted John McClane, how he was already established in the first movie. And so we ended up working out with them like, okay, we'll do one for you and then we'll do one for the script. And just to make him happy, and he would read all the lines and do everything, but do it not silly, take out all the jokes and just be stoic the whole time. And, okay, guess what? The studios hated it, he said. They're like, oh, what the fuck, man? Like, we loved it. Like, I gave him Bruce's cut. He's like, I gave him Bruce's cut first. That's what I turned in. I did that for Bruce. He wanted me to turn in the fucking cut where he's like serious. And the studio came back and they said, we love it, but can you make it funnier? Why is he funny? So we went kind of behind Bruce's back, and he didn't have final say. And we fucking injected all the funny shit back in it. And when he saw that, he was not happy. And, I think he was saying something about like the premiere and everything else. Like, yeah, he was kind of poo-pooing it. And he was clearly not amused the whole time watching them. And I just hear that shit about Bruce Willis. I'm like, what a fucking idiot. I don't know.
Yeah, but then Rennie goes on to making Adventures of Ford Fairlane was freaking hilarious.
Yeah, and he made Long Kiss Goodnight and Cutthroat Island, a whole bunch of movies, and Ford Fairlane. But the whole thing with it, Bruce Willis, dude, you establish yourself with a new movie. Don't like take an established character that was a huge hit. Don't just change his fucking character.
Yeah.
But you could almost argue that that's what they did in Lethal Weapon 2 a little bit. Not really. It was a natural evolution. I got to talk about Lethal Weapon 2 for a minute, then we'll be done. Lethal Weapon 2. The first movie, a little bit more of a darker edge. I don't think they changed his character. He just had an evolution. He was committing suicide. He was in the first movie trying to commit. He was depressed about his wife, and he was like a reckless man. He was really crazy. He had some zingers in there, but it came from a different place. But he was more of a fucking wild card. And in the second one, he's way more cartoonish, way more really funny, more of that kind of like Bruce Willis type of vibe. But it makes sense for the character because he found some closure at the end of the first movie. And he kind of adopted a new family in Roger's family, and it worked. And I think Lethal Weapon 2 is hilarious. I think Lethal Weapon 2. I think some people like Lethal Weapon 1 better. I think they're on crack. I know it's got Gary Busey.
I actually like.
I know it's got Mr. Joshua, Mr. Joshua, Gary Busey. But I think Lethal Weapon 2 is amazing. It's as perfect as a sequel.
It's good,
and you get Leo Getz in it, dude. Okay. He was so great to the fucking series, man. Adding Joe Pesci. But with that said, I would rank him 2, then number 1, then number 3. Number 3 is extra cartoony. It's a little silly and the fucking all the hockey rink shit and whatever. And then the fourth one is it's fine.
Yeah.
The ending is really cheesy. The whole you remember the fourth one where they all take a picture in the hospital?
Fourth one stinks.
It ruins the movie. Where it's like they're all trying to get there to see Murtaugh have his grandchild, Chris Rock's baby. And also the same day, Mel Gibson's having a baby with his wife, and they're having a baby at the same time. And they're all there like rushing to make the burst, and they're all there with the babies. And it's got Leo Getz. You got the extended family, all of Murtaugh's family. You got fucking Murtaugh, Riggs and his wife. And then they asked the doctor to take a picture, and they're like, are you guys all friends? And they all go, no, we're family. And they take a picture. It's like, oh.
I watched it when I was watching when I was a younger dude, and I loved it. But that movie stinks, dude.
I don't think it stinks, but I will say I think
not good.
I think I like the Jet Li villain. I think he's a great villain. I think it's great how he doesn't talk much. I think he's a scary
Rocky 5, dude.
I think he's a good villain, and I like sort of the backstory with the immigrants and all that stuff. I think it's cool. I will actually say the villain and the overall what's going on in the background is better than 3. But three's a better movie. Three's more fun. Three's still kind of classic Lethal Weapon.
Three's better, a lot better.
It's better, but like I said, I will say that positive that I think Jet Li's cool. I think the fight with Jet Li at the end is cool. But anyway, I digress. I pick Lethal Weapon 2. Todd's a Die Hard guy. I kind of felt that's the way it was going to go. But anyway,